time, we're going to go ahead and welcome Teena back. She is going to be talking about a cybersecurity initiative that she's been involved with getting kicked off. And thank you, Teena.
We're going to show you some videos so that you will understand about cyber work and the internet and how the
bipartisan separation on so many things. Slavery seems to come up as one of these issues that we can all agree upon, and I applaud you for your agreement, and I believe in you and your leadership and your ability to take us out of it. I'm here today to defend the right to pursue happiness. It's a simple notion, the right to pursue happiness. It's bestowed upon all of us by our Constitution. Every citizen of this country has the right to pursue it. And I believe that it is incumbent upon us as citizens of this nation, as Americans, to bestow that right upon others, upon each other, and upon the rest of the world. But the right to pursue happiness for so many is stripped away. It's raped. It's abused. It's taken by force, fraud, or coercion. It is sold for the momentary happiness of another. And this is about the time when I start talking about politics that the internet trolls tell me to stick to my day job. So I'd like to talk about my day job. My day job is as the chairman and the co-founder of Thorn. We build software to fight human trafficking and the sexual exploitation of children. And that's our core mission. My other day job is that of the father of two, a 2-month-old and a 2-year-old. And as part of that job that I take very seriously, I believe that it is my effort to defend their right to pursue happiness and to ensure a society and government that defends it as well. As part of my anti-trafficking work, I've met victims in Russia. I've met victims in India. I've met victims that have been trafficked from Mexico, victims in New York and New Jersey and all across our country. I've been on FBI raids where I've seen things that no person should ever see. I've seen video content of a child that's the same age as mine being raped by an American man that was a sex tourist in Cambodia. And this child was so conditioned by her environment that she thought she was engaging in play. I've been on the other end of a phone call from my team asking for my help because we had received a call from the Department of Homeland Security telling us that a 7-year-old girl was being sexually abused and that content was being spread around the dark web. And she had been being abused and they'd watched her for 3 years and they could not find the perpetrator. Asking us for help. We were the last line of defense. An actor and his foundation were the potential last line of defense. That's my day job. And I'm sticking to it. I'd like to tell you a story about a 15-year-old girl in Oakland. We'll call her Amy. Amy met a man online, started talking to him. A short while later, they met in person. Within hours, Amy was abused, raped, and forced into trafficking. She was sold for sex. This isn't an isolated incident. There's not much that's unusual about it. The only unusual thing is that Amy was found and returned to her family within 3 days using the software that we created, a tool called Spotlight. And in an effort to protect its capacity over time, I won't give much detail about what it does, but it's a tool that can be used by law enforcement to prioritize their caseload. It's a neural net. It gets smarter over time. It gets better and it gets more efficient as people use it. And it's working. In 6 months, with 25% of our users reporting, we've identified over 6,000 trafficking victims, 2,000 of which are minors. The This tool is in the hands of 4,000 law enforcement officials in 900 agencies. And we're reducing the investigation time by 60%. This tool is effective, it's efficient, it's nimble, it's better, it's smarter. Now, there's often a misconception about technology that in some way it is the generator of some evil, that it's creating job displacement, and that it enables violence and malice acts. But as an entrepreneur and as a venture capitalist in the technology field, I see technology as simply a tool without will. The will is the user of that technology, and I think it's an important distinction. An airplane is a tool. It's a piece of technology. And under the right hands, it's used for mass global transit, and under the wrong hands, it can be flown into buildings. Technology can be used to enable slavery, but it can also be used to disable slavery, and that's what we're doing. I alluded to a phone call that we got from the Department of Homeland Security about this girl that was being trafficked on the dark web. Now, it's interesting to note that the dark web was created in the mid-90s. It was a tool that was created by the Naval Research Lab called Tor, a tool with absolute purpose and positive intention for sharing intelligence communications anonymously. It's also been used to help people who are being disenfranchised by their government within political dissent in oppressive regimes. But on the other side, it's used for trafficking. For drug trafficking, for weapons trafficking, and for human trafficking. And it's also the warehouse for some of the most offensive child abuse images in the world. Now, when the Department of Homeland Security called us and asked for our help, and asked if we had a tool, I had to say no. And it devastated me. It haunted me. Because for the next 3 months, I had to go to sleep every night and think about that little girl that was still being abused. And the fact that if I built the right thing, we could save her. So that's what we did.
My name is Sweetie. I'm 10 years old. I live in the Philippines. Every day, I have to sit in front of the webcam and talk to men, just like tens of thousands of other kids. The men ask me to take off my clothes. They play with themselves. They want me to play with myself. As soon as I go online, they come to me. But what they don't know, I'm not real. I'm a computer model, made piece by piece to track down these men who do this.
Webcam child sex tourism is a new phenomenon that's spreading like an epidemic. Men from rich countries pay children in poor countries to perform sexual acts in front of webcams. We estimate that tens of thousands of kids, some of them only 6 years old, are abused behind cams in the Philippines alone. But instead of hundreds of thousands of convictions, we could only find 6 men who have ever been charged. Our solution: proactive policing. To stop predators, we need to patrol the websites where they commit these crimes and catch them in the act. We went undercover, posing as a 10-year-old Filipino girl on public chat rooms. Sweetie is a computer model we created to look and move like a real girl.
I'm not real.
Men think she's sitting in front of a webcam in the Philippines, but actually, we were operating her from a warehouse in the capital of the Netherlands. In just 10 weeks, we identified 1,000 predators from 71 countries. Instantly, Sweetie became world news.
Webcam sex tourism. Investigators tracked down their addresses and photos and handed them over to Interpol.
She is the weapon against online sex tourism.
46 Australians have been handed to international police.
I'm of course very happy for Telecom that they have made this case.
1 billion people have seen the Sweetie campaign. Webcam child sex tourism is now a globally recognized problem. But what we're most proud of, predators are being stopped.
17 people from Britain have been arrested.
And children are being saved.
Around 15 children aged 6 to 15 were rescued.
It's a Wednesday morning, but Earl Snow is already sitting down to watch the game.
I'm trying to figure out how many potential trafficking victims do we have. Right here. Sexy party baby girl. Fetish. Says she's 21. There's no way that that girl is 21 years old. No way.
Snow is monitoring an online classified ad service where she says human trafficking frequently takes place.
So I always look for that when I'm looking on these ads. Do I see any identifying tattoos? And you see it a lot these days. And brandings tend to consist nowadays of names, especially names with a crown. It's a huge red flag, especially if the name and the crown is on the chest or the neck. Also anything to do with currency, diamonds, money bags.
Snow founded the anti-slavery organization Game Over in 2016.
What happened to me was called the game, this monstrous beast that is this world of sex trafficking.
A survivor of forced prostitution, Snow says her trafficker was a drug dealer who had first tricked her into thinking they were starting a relationship. But she says when she agreed to travel from her home in Eureka, California, to his apartment in Sacramento, everything changed.
He would come in and eventually start saying that he's not who he said he was, that he's actually a pimp, and that this is how prostitutes are made. He had these 6-inch heels, which I had never worn heels in my life, being 6 foot tall, and this little pink skirt, never worn pink in my life. And he wanted me to put these on, and he said I had to get to work.
Snow says she fought back for months, but every time she did, the violence got worse.
I was beat bloody, I was strangled, he was dragging my body to the car when I woke up. My throat was so swollen and black and blue, I still have busted capillaries in it from all that.
The trafficker, David Anderson, went by the moniker KD, short for King David. He was given 9 years for trafficking of a 16-year-old girl. It was the first human trafficking conviction ever in California's rural Humboldt County. Kyla Baxley was the lead investigator in the case. She says Snow's testimony was instrumental in convincing the jury slavery can happen in any community.
Victims of sexual assault and exploitation didn't choose this, realizing that it was happening here in Humboldt and having an interaction with Elle Snow being one of the victims in this case. She's gone on to do phenomenal things, is raising awareness here in Humboldt, so I think it was a good thing on many levels.
Since Anderson's conviction, Snow has been on a mission. In addition to investigating ongoing trafficking cases on her own, Snow also trains law enforcement and speaks to local students. Recently, Snow co-wrote and produced a play based on her own experiences, Jane Doe in Wonderland.
Gotta run. Can't be late.
The community rallied around and supported the survivor voices here, especially a rural community. If you're putting posters everywhere and everybody's talking about it, and all the teens they try and recruit say, hey, I know what a pimp is. I know those books. All of a sudden the traffickers don't feel comfortable anymore. And so having the community rally around it's really changing everything. It's pretty phenomenal.
Proof every contribution has its role to play in helping end a brutal game. Linda Kincaid, CNN.
So the reason that we've shown you this is so that you can understand what has happened, here in Kentucky and what is happening and what will happen. That is that when Andy Beshear was the Attorney General, he started a cyber crimes unit, and that was, I think, about 3 guys, and I've seen them before. He also started the Kentucky Statewide Human Trafficking Task Force, and during one of the breaks, I asked one of the, I can't remember now, he's some law enforcement, And anyway, I knew about the spotlight that Ashton Kutcher had done. And he said, yes, that was what they were using in Kentucky. And I was like, hallelujah, this is great. So as far as I know, that has continued on. But I was also a speaker at at one of the United Nations Association meetings, and I believe we were in DC at that time. And I was on the panel, and this one young man stood up and he said, what can men do? What can, guys do? And I had just found out about this other effort that was in several cities that was working. And so I eventually made contact with them, and we were supposed to start, but then COVID hit. The trainer was to fly in, we had the room for him to stay, we had appropriated the money, for his food and stuff, and paid, thousands, for the training and everything, and the support and the help and the placement of the ads. So just as you saw that Elle in there was looking on the Chromebook, and finding the ads that were there. Ads will be posted, and then our team of guys will have, people that call in, and they will be trained, they will have a script to follow, that kind of thing. If we get anything of any importance, then we will send that on to LMPD, Sergeant Donninger. But we, like I said, we postpone. Okay, so again, we're ready to bring them in, but I want it to be more when there's hotter weather. I was trained at the Center for Disease Control and set up the virology department at Jewish Hospital, so I know viruses don't like hot weather, so I'm hoping, I don't want to get people trained and then not be able to continue on, so that's held us up quite a bit, the concern for the public's safety. So one of the things that we did initially several years ago was this book, Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, and it helps to use with a 3 to 6 year old child. A lot of the people that I have met in human trafficking became victimized when they were 3 or 4 years old. And this book helps a child be better able to protect themselves. The United Nations Association of Kentucky has delivered books, and our photo was taken at the main library. These are available in every library, public library in Jefferson County. We have also made them available in Lexington Library, Frankfurt Library, and next we're going for Bowling Green and more of them to get them into all 120 counties and hope that they can be used. In the past, we have given stacks of these away when I had the funding. And, we put something in the front. I don't have anything in the front of these, but we put it in there and asked people, that this is a gift, and would you not sit it on a shelf, but pass it on to help some other child. So, I think this book is very good. And so that's one of our projects that we're working on to help combat and help children be better able to take care of themselves. So of course, the cell phone has gotten a lot of people involved with being lied to and everything. So, like I said, we envisioned doing this 7 years ago. And then, like I told you, all the viruses came in there. And we have a target date, and the ads will be posted, and they will take the calls, just like you saw in the videos, and we would turn over pertinent information. Now, one of the things is that the reason to do it is you will have a first-time caller. You'll have somebody that has never ever done this before. They are told that the call is being recorded. But sometimes people like that will never attempt to make another call. So you can help in that way. But the other thing that I hadn't considered was that when you get a repeat caller, somebody who calls back and calls back and calls back, then each time you get more and more information about that person, and that could be helpful also to law enforcement. And those are the kind of people that really need to be off the streets. I'm also glad to work on legislation to strengthen, longer sentences because it's really not fair when you're given this sentence and then you don't have to serve very much of it. You act good and get out early and you go out and try to victimize more people. So anyway, pornography, as you saw, is a big player in all of this. And so we put more of an emphasis on pornography. I don't know if it was 4 or 5 years ago. And we do have a brochure on pornography. And we made other brochures also. And you're welcome to take any of our materials. But basically, we ask you to put the human trafficking hotline number in your cell phone, have it available for you. You never know when you're going to encounter somebody or see something. When you call that 188 number and you report something, it doesn't matter if it doesn't pan out. If it's not, if it's not a human trafficking case, or if you said the wrong thing, the person's hair was blonde when it was really brown, or it doesn't matter. You're not held liable for any of that. What you are held liable for is that you should report that according to law. So, the texting number, the chat, it has really made a difference. So I think that's all I have. So any questions or anything like that? And